The varieties are endless, but only one reigns supreme. Today we're making brisket burnt ends. Today we're working with half of a beef brisket. You guys can see here that there's a little bit of the flat, and then we also have the point, which is where we're getting our burnt ends from today. If you guys didn't know, the brisket is comprised of two muscles. The flat right here is where you get your leaner pieces of that brisket, and the point is where you get your fattier pieces. So if you ever hear somebody saying they want marbled brisket or moist brisket, you're getting it over here from the point, and if you want lean brisket, you're getting it right here from the flat. So today we're concentrating only on this point. That's where we're getting the burnt ends from. You see there's a little bit of flat here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start cutting through this fat seam and just seeing where my meat is connected at. So as long as you're following this fat seam, you're going to be fine. You basically just want to let the knife do the work and separate it all the way. As I'm cutting into this brisket, I'm just pulling back and letting the knife do its work. All I want to make sure is that I have a really nice and sharp knife, and the rest of this is going to be pretty simple. You can see that in some spots here I could have gone just a little bit deeper, but that's completely fine. Like I said, we're just trying to concentrate on getting this point out of here. Now we've got our brisket separated into our flat and into our point, and now I just want to start making sure that I trim all of this excess fat off. So while we're making these burnt ends, I don't need any of this fat that basically was the seam between the two muscles. And the reason I don't is because there's plenty of intermuscular fat inside of the point of this brisket. Now, just so you guys know, this is a select brisket here, but I liked the price point. If you guys saw it a second ago, I believe it was $17.76 or 78 cents, and I really liked that, so that's why I wanted to cook this today. Not too expensive. Everything right now is just kind of out of this world on pricing. So I saw something, I liked the price, and I was like, you know what, let's go for it. If there's any tough to reach spots, just put your fingers under the brisket and push up on the fat that you're trying to trim, and it makes it a lot easier. And after all is said and done, this looks really good to me on the top. You guys can see that there's still a little bit of silver skin there, but I'm not worried about that at all. I do also want to make sure that I get this backside finished up, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did to the top, and then we're going to prep this up, put it on the smoker. The brisket is nice and trimmed up. Now we're going to get some seasoning on this. Today we wanted to stay pretty neutral because we haven't decided what we're going to put in our wrap. That's the beautiful thing about these burnt ends, is you can make them like a barbecue burnt end, or you can add some Asian flair in there. You can make them a little bit spicy, and we'll figure that out as we go. I'm going to start with Worcestershire sauce as a binder. And I'm going to go right over top with Southern Belle. This is our beef seasoning. I'll put a link in the description if you guys are interested in trying it out. Just goes really great on briskets, tri-tips, picanhas, steaks, anything. Same exact thing on the backside. Gonna try and pick up some of that extra seasoning on the board just so nothing goes to waste. Now that's looking perfect. Let's go ahead and fire up our Weber kettle. In order to smoke our brisket burnt ends today, we're going to be using a Weber kettle with 2 Weber charcoal baskets. I have 10 B&B briquettes here that I'm going to get fully lit, and then I'm going to put 5 in each basket. I'll fill the basket up the rest of the way with unlit B&B briquettes, and then we'll add some wood chips here in just a little bit. I'm hoping to get around 300 degrees on our Weber kettle in order to smoke this brisket today. And about 10 minutes later, our briquettes are nice and hot, so we're going to fill up each of these charcoal baskets with 5 lit briquettes, and don't forget, we'll fill the rest of it up with unlit coals. I'm also going to try and make sure that they're off to one side. That way it's easier for me to get a consistent burn one way on our charcoal. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna put a wood chunk right over the lit coals, and then we're gonna put our grate down. Now on our bottom vents, I'm gonna crack them about halfway just so I make sure there's enough airflow in here to get to that 300 degrees and then hold it for a while. Now I'm gonna put my brisket on. We'll close up the kettle and make sure it gets to temp. If we need to adjust the vents, we absolutely will. If we notice that it's not getting hot enough, we'll open those vents a little bit. We can close them down if it's getting too hot. It's all about using those vents properly. So if you notice it's getting too hot, you can choke it all the way down, make sure the fire dies, and then open it back up in a little bit. We're not gonna check this for around 2 hours. I wanna build bark on these burnt ends, so we'll be back in just a little bit. It's been right at 2 hours and we've been rocking and rolling at 300 on our kettle. I want to open it up and just see how things are looking. So I'm looking for fat render. I'm looking for that bark to get nice and set. I've been flipping everything that I've been cooking recently, so I'm assuming that it's about time to flip it over just to make sure the color gets everywhere. And you can see here that this brisket is looking really, really nice. On the edges here, I get a lot of that nice bark. Towards the middle, it doesn't look like it's getting the bark that I'm looking for, but that's completely okay. This little piece back here, the flat, I am going to go ahead and flip that over just so I can make sure that I'm getting nice color everywhere. I'm going to do the same thing on this front piece here, the point. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Here, I want to flip it over because I want that nice color to also be on the top side of this point. So we'll let this go for another hour or so and just make sure we get that nice consistent bark, and then it'll be time to wrap it up. After 3 hours, our brisket point is looking exactly the way we want it to. You can see there's a nice bark that's built up here, and now it's time to wrap just to get it tender. We're not going to cube it up or anything like that yet. We're just looking to get this super duper tender. We'll wrap it and get some flavors on it in just a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of beef bone broth in here just to get this steaming a little bit and make sure we get everything nice and tender. It's been right at 4 hours on our brisket burnt ends. Now it's time to take a look at them. We're looking for tenderness. We still haven't added any flavor to these burnt ends. We just want to make sure that they're completely broken down and they're going to be nice and squishy. Well, I've still got the brisket in the kettle here. We're just going to go ahead and check it and see how it feels. All right, I'm going to check for tenderness here, and oh yeah, it feels really, really good. The probe is sliding in with absolutely no resistance. I know that this is exactly where I want. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this brisket here. I'm going to put it on my cutting board, and I'm going to start slicing this into cubes that are around 1 inch by 1 inch. I got this brand new Bubba knife that one of my best friends gave me, so I'm just going to try this out today. I haven't used it yet, and I think this is the perfect time. Now I'm going to rotate my board and start making those inch cubes. And this right here is exactly what I'm looking for. You can see that there's a nice little smoke ring in here. Everything is nice and squishy. This is super duper tender. But now we want to add some of the barbecue flavors to this brisket burnt end. I'm going to start adding my brisket burnt ends back into the same exact foil that we just used. The reason I want to use this foil again is because all of that fat just came out in there. There's still that beef bone broth that we just used. Then I'm going to start adding my barbecue flavors. First, I'm going to hit it with Southern Hospitality. This is our sweet barbecue rub, so we are looking to add that sweet barbecue flavor. Kind of mix it up just a bit. Now I'm going to add some liquid sugar in the raw. This is going to be what I use instead of brown sugar. There is some brown sugar in Southern Hospitality, and I'll get the rest of my sweetness from this. Now I'm going to use some of Hardcore Carnivore's burnt ends sauce. The reason I like this is because it's really thick, and I want that thickness. I want that sauce to set and get all over these burnt ends. And one of the other things that I love about this burnt end sauce is it adds just such a nice red color to the barbecue that you're cooking. I mean, just tossing it around real quick, you guys can already see that there's a beautiful red color on this burnt end, and that just makes for a super appetizing bite, if you ask me. Last but not least, some Stubbs Sticky Sweet. This stuff is really good. It's also a lot more thin then the burnt end sauce. So I just wanted to add it in there just to get some complex flavors going. One more time, I'm just gonna mix everything together as best I can. And you guys can see that these are super duper coated with just a lot of flavors here. And that's exactly what I want. That beef bone broth is going to continue to bring that nice savory flavor. And the rest of this is going to be pretty sweet. But that's exactly what we decided we wanted today. Now we're going to wrap our burnt ends up and let them go for another 45 minutes to an hour. I just want everything to get nice and tacky in there. And of course, if the burnt ends get a little bit more tender, I'm not complaining at all. It's been around 30 minutes with our burnt ends in the wrap, and what I'm looking for now is just to make sure that everything is coming together and I have nothing that's burning in there. So if you guys remember, we added some liquid sugar and we added some barbecue sauces that have sugar in it as well. I don't want anything to burn. The pit is getting a little bit hotter now because I opened the vents and I'm just trying to finish everything up. So let's just make sure, but this looks perfect. I mean, realistically, the color is there. I can feel them. They're extremely tender. I would say that these are done. We can take these off, pull them to the side, and I already know that they're going to taste incredible. Super simple 5-hour brisket burnt ends. We didn't even use a smoker today. We used our Weber kettle. We used the charcoal baskets. Now it's time to take a bite. My gosh, it feels so tender. It looks so good. And it smells incredible. I know for a fact these are going to be good. Literally melts in your mouth. So delicious. It's gone. It's already gone. It's so flipping good. You know, I'm a little bit surprised. I was going for sweet barbecue flavor. Even with the sugar and the 2 sauces and everything that we used in the wrap, it's not too sweet. Like, not at all. I think that beef bone broth really kept the savoriness there. And of course, Southern Belle brought the salt, pepper, garlic, but just kept it really, really overall balanced. If you guys enjoyed this video, let us know, drop a comment, leave a like, all that cool stuff. As always, we really appreciate you guys tuning into this video. Thanks. These are all mine. And we'll see you on the next one.